This is The Wire for 1900 Zulu, February 23rd, 2026. Precedence is routine. Information cutoff is 1800. Bottom line up front. Secret Service neutralizes gunman at Mar-a-Lago. Buildup continues in Middle East as mass evacuations begin. Conflict remains intense in Mexico. Beginning with international events, in Mexico, following yesterday's intense fighting in Jalisco, most airlines have canceled flights out of Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. The main hospital in Guadalajara was evacuated for a few hours after CJNG forces threatened to attack the facility due to rumors that wounded federal forces were being treated there. The National Guard base in San Juan de los Lagos was attacked with explosives, possibly RPGs, which resulted in several casualties. Far to the north, schools throughout Baja and Tijuana have been canceled for all levels of education until further notice, and various cartel-affiliated social media pages have declared a 10 p.m. curfew for civilians, announcing that anyone caught outside after this hour will be shot. Concerning casualties sustained so far, government forces report a total of 25 KIA as of this morning, most of which occurred as a result of the attack on the National Guard base. For CJNG, casualties are not known as they usually withdraw with their wounded and dead without disclosing casualty figures until much later, if at all, analysts comment. Officially, the position of the federal government is that absolutely nothing is happening whatsoever. This morning, President Sheinbaum stated several times that no blockades were in place, no engagements took place at all this morning, and everything is perfectly calm. This is mostly a lie, as multiple arson attacks have been reported this morning, but it's the story that the federales are sticking to. It is true that the knee-jerk response yesterday was an intense flash in the pan, however much more substantial resources are staging throughout the nation, as many different cartels get ready for a protracted fight, if that is the chosen course of action. At lower levels of government, officials are not taking any chances. Authorities being concerned enough to cancel classes and close businesses in Baja is interesting, as most people thought that this state was entirely controlled by the Sinaloa cartel, not CJNG. This also means that conflict is likely to spread throughout the country, not just Jalisco, where the violence first began. Cross-border conflict has not been observed in American border towns just yet. However, with the speed at which hostilities have developed, a hot shooting war can break out in any location at any time. On the home front, in Florida, over the weekend, a suspected assassination attempt was reported at Mar-a-Lago after an assailant armed with a shotgun and incendiary materials breached the inner perimeter of the compound. Sunday morning, the U.S. Secret Service posted a press statement confirming that one suspect had been killed at Mar-a-Lago after breaching a perimeter fence. Analysts comment. Due to the sensitivity of the site, zero details have been provided on where the suspect breached the fence or where the individual was engaged within the compound. No information has been posted regarding the shooter's identity or motive for the attack. Analyst comments for this wire. In the Middle East, wartime preparations continue as before. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, negotiations between the United States and Iran are scheduled to resume in Geneva on Thursday. Over the weekend, the Iranian diplomatic delegation was presented with a letter from the United States outlining the proposals for limits on the Iranian missile program. As the Iranians have stated from the very start that their missile program itself is not up for discussion in any way, they returned the letter reportedly unopened. At the time, most surmised that this was the last chance the Iranians had in avoiding war, and considering that negotiations are back on for Thursday, it's quite possible that future diplomatic endeavors are just efforts to stall for time. The USS Ford carrier strike group arrived in the eastern Mediterranean Sea this morning, and if her mission is to provide air defense for the Israelis, she could be in position to do so by this afternoon. Similarly, logistical aircraft have continued pouring into the region. Embassy evacuations continue as well, with American diplomatic stations in Lebanon being evacuated of non-essential personnel overnight. Similar drawdowns have been observed at Al Udeid Air Base, though Sentinel satellite imagery from yesterday indicates that there are still many aircraft at this installation. This will very likely change by the next time a satellite pass is conducted and more aircraft maneuver through the region without transmitting their position to the ADS-B feeds that the Pentagon knows everyone is watching. Some of the aircraft that were supposed to be at Al Udeid were observed on the ground in a completely different location this morning, so the shell game is taking place. There are already enough resources in theater to carry out a protracted air campaign, and every hour more resources are being flown into the region. This concludes The Wire for 1900 Zulu, February 23rd, 2026.